Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I know these videos are becoming more and more spaced apart just due to not having enough hours in the day, but we're squeezing in a video this week and I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update on what's happening in life. So for those of you that did follow up on my last YouTube video where I had a wonderful big D&M about all the good things in life and some of the major changes, I guess, for me over the past 6 months, you'll have obviously heard that I am going to be competing at the World Championships for WBFF in Las Vegas in just a few weeks' time now. The competition is August. I think the registration is on Wednesday, the 10th. Competition day is on the 13th, Saturday. And during that time, there's a media day, there's a big registration. We're going to be doing photo shoots, shooting for the Fit and Firm magazine. And then I will also be doing a couple of other shoots to, of course, as you guys know, get some content shot for all of our educational pieces and things that we're doing here with BioLane and our other companies. So it's going to be a hectic few days, but to give you an update, I guess, on how things have been going, I've honestly been terrified. I probably said it last week and I'll say it again. This is the first competition where I've honestly had doubts. I know that every year I kind of say, oh, I don't think I'm going to be ready. I don't think I'm going to be ready. But this year, given the short time frame and just seeing kind of how much I would have to do with that time frame from the calorie deficit perspective, and then also the extra commitment to training again, I am a little worried. But the good thing is, it's amazing what happens when you actually get back on track, start tracking macros, first and foremost, and just have a consistent routine. And I think that, to me, really just solidifies what tends to be the biggest struggle for most people. I feel like the last 6 months for me has been more reflective of like the average person. You know, they have fitness goals, they love training, they enjoy going to the gym, but you know, they've also got personal responsibilities, family, relationships, financial goals, and often it is those consistent routines around our training and our nutrition that just aren't as habitual as, you know, some of these other things that we do. And the consequence is your training suffers, you're not consistent, and you're kind of a little bit all over the place. And you know, for the last 6 months, I kind of had been averaging about 2 training sessions a week, and I might get my walk in, you know, and that was to me more valuable than necessarily getting, you know, stuck inside and doing a lifting session. Because we are inside, you know, all day, you know, sitting at your computer, I actually chose to get outside and go for a walk and get some fresh air, be in nature, see the water. Like, we are so fortunate to be here right on the water, and it has been a huge shift for my mind and my mood. That's kind of been the priority. So just me going back to my 4-day-a-week training split, committing to, you know, 10 or 11, 12,000 steps. It's kind of been all over, or up and down. I'll be able to show you here in a moment what it's been. But I've had a huge drop just in the last 7 days. So when I first started, I shared some insight with you last week about just, again, that habit of, you know, snacking and picking and just eating mindlessly. I went into the pantry and, you know, out of habit, I'm just having a nibble of a biscuit. I have a bit of this as a snack just to, you know, graze while you're actually deciding what you're gonna have for your next meal. And that's okay, like, it's totally okay. But for this particular goal, where I do have to be pretty dang specific, that's not going to help me get there. And I think that's one of the habits that a lot of other people tend to run into as well. And I really had to make like that mental shift. And kind of looking back at that as well, it's also been a really conflicting set of thoughts as I'm like experiencing that, you know, inner dialogue, because previously, if that had happened, my reaction or my response to having a few tablespoons of, you know, my peanut butter spread that I've got there and those types of things during a contest prep would have stressed me out to the max, like catatonic, terrified, because I know, oh my God, the caloric, you know, nature of that food. That's like this many hours of extra activity. How am I gonna fit it all in, you know? And I would kind of work myself up to this place where like I didn't know how to get out of it. So it was like, you know, I would previously respond in like this manic type way. And it was nice to kind of reflect on that incident this last week. Like, it was very neutral. I'm not gonna say I was pleased because of course, like, yeah, you've just made it a heck of a lot harder for yourself for the next few weeks. But it was such a neutral response. I was like, oh well, whoops, that was a bit of a mistake. And just kind of got on with my day. And I was like, oh my God, that's a win. Like, the amount of stress that used to cause. And often in that case previously, because I hadn't learned to manage my emotions, and food truly was the coping mechanism of choice. So in that scenario where I felt stressed, anxious, and all of the emotions that come with that, it would perpetuate that cycle. It was like, well, I feel so uncomfortable. What makes me comfortable? Food. And it would just continue, and it would get to the point, and I think that's really where that kind of binge eating type behavior stems from. So glad that I've kind of worked through managing that in a different way. I think I might have said last week, journaling was the thing that really worked well for me, kind of getting those thoughts onto paper and kind of reading about those types of things that I'm thinking and kind of going, oh, there's actually a different way that I can respond to this. All's to say, I think the thing, and some people have asked me, well, hey, if you're so body neutral and you don't care anymore, like, aren't you being a little bit hypocritical to go back and get on stage? And I totally understand that line of thought. That's really logical. However, here's the thing for me. This is about proving to myself that I can do this competition. I can have the discipline, the self-discipline, the determination, and the strength to get to the end without that eating disorder like pushing me or being the driving force behind that, because I was so, motivated by, the end result. And now I'm not. Like, the end result of getting super lean and shredded, I'm like, cool, yeah, it's an accomplishment, but there's no attachment to that. I'll be very happy to kind of just walk my way back to wherever I end up, and that, I feel good and I feel healthy, that I can still, feel good. And that obviously means making good choices, things that are nourishing my body, that make me feel a certain way. That's kind of the why for me. It's not about, maybe there's still a little bit of an underlying, body image issue. It's, heck, I just have a goal. I came runner-up last year. It's freaking time to go. Like, let's turn it up. So I'm really, really going after it this year. I've hired a posing coach, something that I have never really taken seriously. That's not to say that I haven't had posing before. I've definitely worked with Lynn, one of the girls here from Orlando. She's a wonderful human. But, I would do 2 sessions, I'd get the feel for it, and, that was it. I have always been someone that just puts my heels on maybe like 3 or 4 weeks out, and I'll do like 1 practice, and it's about 30 minutes. I'm like, yep, that'll work. And then somehow, I guess I just have the ability to switch it on, but it's not as good as I know it could be. And I think that was the thing that kind of let me down last year. So out of all the feedback that I've taken away from these events, I've definitely tried to apply that everywhere I can. And it's such a glamorous show. I remember the first time I did this, I went in with like one, pretty dress to the event, and then I looked around and there's everyone with like sequins and like pageant style dresses, and they're like, I don't know, immaculate hair. I'm like, oh, I just did my own makeup and hair, and yeah, my dress isn't that cool, but wow, you look good. So I've taken that feedback on board. That's what this is about. It's the culture. It is really about dressing up, and that's not something that I do like that. Certainly not to this extent very often. Like, I live in sports clothes, I sit in front of my computer, and I lift heavy weights. So, it's cool to kind of embrace that, all that hard work and feel really, beautiful at the same time, in a different way than you might normally, I guess. And then, of course, there's the physique aspect. I've taken all the feedback that I possibly can, and I realized there are certain things that I need to dial up and dial down, about my physique. I've been doing that over the last several months and trying to shrink, basically. And the other thing was obviously the posing side, the glamour, that natural like sass, which I don't naturally have, but hey, it's gonna be there. So I'm really confident about that. It's that I've got to get there first, which I'm a little bit scared about. So with that said, let's stop chatting, and I want to show you a bit of a screen recording just of the last couple of weeks, I guess, since I started prepping, which was, I think, around June 20 something. So you can see here I've got pulled up on Carbon Diet Coach average calorie intake. So you can see here for this first week, average calorie intake 1458. And I know some of you are like, what is she doing? She's so muscular. She's kind of tall, like that's crazy. Keep in mind, guys, I have 8 weeks and I have to lose a significant chunk of weight. So the calorie deficit required because of that short time frame, it's gonna be a lot. It was worked out to be like, I don't know, somewhere between 600 and 800 calories deficit per day, below my previous maintenance. Now, if the competition was, 15 weeks away, there's no way I'd be hitting these numbers. It'd be like, I don't know, maybe 1,800, 1,700 at the most. So that's why it's aggressive. I don't want y'all to have a heart attack because I know so many people are used to now seeing slightly higher numbers for females. So as we sneak across through to the next week, you can see pretty low, 1326 was the average. My days are not perfect. I'm really not trying to be perfect. I'm trying to react to the day that I have. In the past, I would be so terrified, or I would be frustrated a little bit, you know, that it wasn't, you know, better and more consistent every single day. And I'm like, you know what? Actually, probably pretty good considering what I do. I hate it when you have to say do. What I do achieve, there you go. And then if we keep scrolling across, you know, this past week, or the 30th June through to July 6, 1638. And then there's this, I guess, the last few days of the week, 1798. So we had, I guess, guests over in a couple of work events this week because our business partners are in town. So, you know, of course, like, yes, this is a competition. Yes, I'm taking this seriously, but I can't just abandon all those other responsibilities. They're still there. They don't go anywhere. So I'm just giving it my best. I do have targets that I am working towards. So they are right around that 1,300 number. But hey, if I can hit them one day, that's amazing. If I can't, so be it. Don't let it stress me out. Don't have judgment. Don't be critical. Don't go and stand in the pantry and eat your feelings. You know, it's just do what you can. Plan, be organized. And this is the other thing to look at as well. I want to show you my data because I know so many of you probably feel terrible if something doesn't quite go to plan with your protein intake, especially if you're traveling. We've just had the holidays here in the US, the summer holidays. You know, so many families have been traveling with their kids. There's just a lot of stuff going on. So my targets for my protein are somewhere between 135 and 145, and that's kind of sitting at the mid to upper end of that protein reference range. Normally, when I'm in contest prep, my protein, and it probably will here in a few weeks' time when like it's down to the wire, you know, my protein's up in like the 160s some weeks. It's been 70s, 180s in past comps because I am trying to prioritize that. However, what has been kind of fun to experiment with over the last several months as I'm not trying to gain muscle and I've kind of been hoping to lose. We'll have to see how that goes when I diet down and see what's still there. But knowing that that is a reference range, it's not saying that, you know, that upper range number is the best, you should strive for that all the time. It's saying if you eat within this range of protein, you're going to be giving yourself enough or an adequate amount of protein to help with your goals. This week here, my average is 127. There's a day here where I got 94. That's just me kind of being a little bit more compassionate and understanding and not being so like rah, rah, rah. And hey, like I'm looking great. I feel so good. I'm interested to see how it's going to turn out, but it's another story. I really don't know how significant of a difference it's going to make, to be honest, because it's still within the range. So it does mean that I probably permit myself a few more carbs and or fats to enable that to work out, but this seems very doable. Like I'm not forced to omit all the things that I like eating. Like I've still been having, you know, all of my favorite carbohydrate foods, maybe in smaller portions, but I can still make them fit. Whereas previously I might have been aiming for that higher protein number and it meant that my carbs and fats were so low that my food choices were kind of miserable. So for me to be happy on these lower targets, it just makes sense to kind of bring that number down a little bit from protein. And I haven't done it, you know, straight from here to here. It has been a kind of progressive drop over the last 6 months, but it just feels very comfortable. So if I look at this window here, 119, that's probably, let me just quickly have a look here. I want to see, I'm going to pull out my calculator. I've probably got about 58 kilograms of lean body mass. Let's put it at the lower end, 2.2 grams per kilogram lean body mass. 127 is the lowest of my range. Although some will argue, I guess some research papers have shown that 1.8 is still a very good amount of protein. So I'm sure that kind of covers that range. But anyway, to make a point. And then again, this past week, just scraped in 128 again. So I'm really happy with that. Like I know previously I would have been like, oh my God, you're failed. Like this is gonna be the last time you ever compete. So I really am just sharing this with you guys, not because it's anything nuanced or magical, but it's really to just help identify that you don't have to do things as rigidly as you might think. Now, that's not to say there aren't benefits to having routine and structure, and I'm not saying, yeah, hey, you can just do whatever you want, guys, like, meh. Like, there is math and there's an equation, and calories in, calories out still applies, but you know, we've also got to be realistic with your goals. So if your expectations are that you are going to be losing this amount of weight every single week, then you probably need to be fairly diligent with what you do with your calories. But if you're open to, you know, being a little bit more reactive, which is what I'm choosing to do to accommodate my life, then you can make it work, but just understand that there's going to be a lot of fluctuation. And that's kind of the next thing that I might show you, which is my weight to finish. Let's go back to the top one here. I haven't got a huge number of weigh-ins. I think some of the days I've actually missed and I have weighed, but we'll go to the beginning. Where is June 20? No, this will do. So I started at 66.5. You can see it's kind of trending down, trending down. I just hovered for about 2 weeks straight there. That might have been my trip to Texas to see Halsey. Too many Long Island iced teas that weekend. 65, heading down, and then today we're down to 63.6. So I've still got probably, you know, 2 kilograms to go, but for the amount of flexibility that I have allowed myself, that trend is moving in the right direction, the one that I want to see. But despite me knowing that I've had so many bouncing around days, I remember like the day after we went to Halsey and we'd had a bunch of stuff to eat, I was like, oh well, I kind of just know it's going to be up. But to be able to go, oh yeah, I knew that, sweet, back to work. Like being able to manage that, seeing that scale number and just get on with it is such an improvement. And I really hope that some of you guys, you know, as you've been following along, hopefully using Carbon or working with any of our Team BioLane coaches, that you're allowed to have this flexibility. I think that's about all that I've got to share at the moment. I haven't really had anything like crazy going on. We do have some new programs dropping on the Workout Builder though at the end of this week. So keep an eye on the Workout Builder. If you're already a subscribed member, go and check the new workouts. And if you aren't someone that's subscribed to our Workout Builder, go down, have a look at the description. All the links are there available for you. It is our awesome workout platform that is super flexible. It accommodates all experience levels. You get to kind of choose your program based on how many days you want to train, what type of training or exercises you want to do, you know, different muscle group focus, you know, the works. So go and take a look at the links down there. And I guess if you guys have got any questions, I know that someone's going to be like, can you show us the photos? Like, how are you doing? I actually do have some, and I will put them up here somewhere for you guys to see the before and the after, but it's like dramatic. It's so crazy just to see, you know, what a bit of consistency can actually do when you are honest with yourself. So have a great week, guys. I hope to update you very soon. And yeah, wish me luck. Bye.